Home service homies, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's time for a little home service happy hour. And this was going to be an extra happy hour. We got Dave Moerman in the house. It might be the happiest hour. Dave's got, what are you drinking? You got a Heineken Zero?
Buddy, Heineken Zero. I'm off the sauce for a little bit, but I'm joining you in. I love these, man. These Heineken Zeros. I've been on them the last few months.
I've heard, like, as far as I usually take a month off of drinking between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's kind of like my blackout window. Or whiteout window, I guess it would be, because the blackout would be when you get drunk. So whiteout window.
There you go.
When you're sober, I guess. And I like the O'Doul's Amber. Like that's that's one I found that actually like tastes like a beer. I'm drinking a Busch Light, so it's basically the same. It's basically the same thing. There's really
pretty much.
But yours is already open and mine's not. So let me do that.
Cracked it, man. Boom. Cheers, brother. Let's do it.
Good to hang.
Mm-hmm.
So we gotta make a show here tonight, Dave. And you said something that prompted me, and I want to challenge the audience here, which is you had said to me before we went live that you didn't think there was anything we could ask you that you wouldn't be comfortable answering. So I'm just gonna throw that out there as a challenge to the audience. I don't know what I'm gonna ask you yet.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out as we get going. But I kind of want some crazy ass questions from the audience here as we get going. I want to know what they got for you. I want them to bring their A game. See if we can stump the Dave. See what we got.
Let's do it, man.
Or at least make you wildly uncomfortable. That'd be fun.
That works too, man. Let's get people engaged. So make it a challenge in the next hour. Who can ask me a question that maybe I'll decline to answer or just don't know the answer to? I'll be straight up. If I don't know the answer, I'll just say it.
Those are I get a lot of those. I don't think it's that they're that great of question askers. Maybe I'm just that bad of an answer.
That too.
Here's the thing. You're up there into Canada, Pacific time. I don't know why I'm talking like I'm in northern Wisconsin or like the movie Fargo, but I'm Central Time Zone. I'm curious. Like, we got a bunch of election bullshit going on, Dave. It's just starting. I'm already sick of it. Like, the real political ads haven't even started, and I'm already burned out. Like, I can't handle it.
Wow.
We just got two old crusty white dudes that 10% of people are passionate about, and like 90% of us are like, what? Like, this is the best we got. I'm in the 90% of people like, really, this is what we got. These are the best two humans we got in this country to run this thing. But I feel like us arrogant Americans, we don't know shit about what goes on in the rest of the world. What's going on in Canada right now? What do you guys got going on? You guys got stupid, crusty white dudes like we got, or what are you working on?
Not as much, man. Our prime minister is actually like a young guy who, like, actually my generation, like, pretty much elected. But after his serving of term here, I don't know if he's going to get back in. He's pretty polarizing type of guy. So there is like some political talk here, man. Like, nothing to the extent you guys have in the US. Like, does it just get hit on your news feed? Everywhere? Where do you see it?
And it's like, it's just a reason for us all to hate each other. It's really weird. You just get so many, like, the assholes come out and make themselves really well known and can't help themselves. And it makes it not very fun. Yeah,
no, man, we don't get it near to the extent you guys have. I mean, I think Canadians in general were less like, will necessarily speak our opinion. I would say, like, we're a lot more, I don't know what the word is, like, politically correct, maybe
just reasonable and polite, maybe would be the way to put it.
Maybe that's it. But yeah, even in just learning more about you guys in the US, meeting you guys at trade shows, there is something refreshing about just being extremely direct that a lot of people in my network here in Canada, even our clients, man, like, if they're pissed off at the job, they'll probably find a way to, like, gently let you down. You know, we were disappointed with the work, not like you guys did such a shitty job.
You suck. Get out of here.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen as much here. So it's like cool seeing we're like neighbors, but also like some of the cultural differences for sure.
Do you do you guys have like an election going on right now, or what's your cycle? When does that come up?
Man, you might be asking the wrong guy here, but it's every 4 years, I can tell you that. And 2024. So yeah, later this year, I want to say, but a quick Google search, we could verify. But yeah, our main guy is like Justin Trudeau. He's a good looking guy. His dad was our prime minister back in the day, but if you're up on politics, which I'm not terribly, he can be a bit controversial with some of his policies. So I've got buddies that, when we go out for boys' night, 2 of my 4 buddies are just like, they'll go down this Trudeau rabbit hole, and me and my other buddy were just
oh god, here we go again.
Yeah. So I'm not like, man, in general, I'm not like a super opinionated, get upset kind of guy. Like harmony is like a core value of mine if everybody just gets along. But I also understand you need to like stand up for what you super believe in. So, but politics for me, man, it just doesn't really get me going. I'd rather like run a business and go play golf. But I do think you do need to be a little bit informed, and I'm working on that for sure.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I get annoyed by it, and then I avoid it, and then I kind of feel guilty that I avoided it because I'm like, I probably should have something to say, but I just get alienated by like, this is it. This is what we got. These are the best 2. This is all we could come up with. Like this is a reflection of what we want and who we trust to like do what's in our best interest.
I know.
I don't know how we got here, but I know for certain it's in our best interest. But
it's tough though, man. Like when you're running, when you're running a few businesses like you are too, like you only have so much cognitive bandwidth, and then you come home and you want to be husband and dad, and then what about time for Dan? And it's like, it doesn't excuse being uninformed, but I just feel like for my brain every morning, I'm so focused on what I want to do. There's not a lot of extra bandwidth to go down this rabbit trail and read for an hour, get commenting on Facebook. So that's just me.
And we're going to get off this political nonsense in a second here. But one of the things that I think is funny is like my dad used to run a business and he's retired now. He has way more time to read all the bullshit headlines online and just get himself worked up. And I think one of the things that I tend to find with all political people is what I'm going to say, like people that obsess about it, is they just read the shit that aggravates them more and like supports their belief system. And they don't actually like read anything that helps them articulate an argument. They just read like sound bites or listen to sound bites of people that are reinforcing their things and then they regurgitate them. And I'm like, that's cool. And maybe you're right. I don't know if there is a right and wrong. But mostly I'm just like annoyed that you're not actually like thinking for yourself and you're just clearly regurgitating something that you heard on whatever radio or TV show you tuned into to reinforce your belief system. I don't know. It's a lot.
No, man, I would tend to agree. Like if you're busy running after your own goals and stuff, I just think you can only get fired up about so much stuff in life, right? And if politics is your thing, knock yourself out. But I think for a lot of us, it's not. And again, I'm working on being more informed, but it just doesn't really get me fired up one way or the other.
If politics is your thing, knock yourself out. And while you're knocking yourself out, make sure you take care of small business owners for Dave and I, because
that too,
we're counting on you.
Well said.
But into that, Dave, I just tend to find, like, regardless of who's in office, if it's super conservative or super liberal or whatever the hell it is, it just doesn't really impact my day-to-day life at all. It in the short term. Long term, maybe it does, and it's harder to see. But like what I'm gonna do tomorrow is just not gonna be that impacted by what one of these crusty old white dudes does.
Yeah. I was kind of like thinking of that, man, and told that like growing up, like don't rely on the government to save you, like straight up, right? Like go build something you enjoy, you're proud of. And my parents told me from a young age, like if you find something you love to do, you'll never have to work a day in your life. I just feel like the last 15 years I've been running my own thing. And of course there's hard days and hard weeks and months, but overall, man, we both like love what we get to do. Like you can start a new business in like less than 2 weeks, man, if you want today. It's just crazy what we have at our disposal.
Mm-hmm. I like, I support what Joe Devino has to say. I still go fishing regardless of the president.
Man, look at that fish he's holding there. Hey,
he's kind of holding it like it's about to get away from him. Like he was holding it differently, and then it made a big squirm, and he was like, "What?" And that was when they took the picture.
That's awesome.
I was informed that I'm a white male.
That's both of us here. There you go.
I now know that. I think this is good. Just on the mental bandwidth thing, it's like there's just that like mental capacity to grapple with things. I'm just always going to choose my employees and my customers and my family over shit that I can't control.
Yeah.
Just working on what I can control.
Yep.
Oh, Nathan Lambert checking in from down
from Australia. What a beauty.
Under. Good day. Good day, mate. That's
he'd be a whole bunch of hours ahead than us right now, man. He's probably in the morning right now.
He's living in the future, dude.
Yeah.
He should give us like some stock tips. He should be trading way ahead of the market. Every time I see or hear Good Day, I just go right to Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, buddy, what a great movie. Top 10 movies, top 5 movies, I would say right there. If you're asking me.
I wasn't asking you, but now I kind of want to. What else? What else is in those?
Buddy, Shawshank Redemption, Remember the Titans, Dumb and Dumber. Man,
you're covering a lot of genres there too.
Oh, buddy, what else is for a long? Denzel Washington's my favorite actor, but I'd also throw up an oldie but a goodie was John Q as well. I watched that when I was like 14. It was like 2 decades ago, but that one rings true.
Stuck with you.
Those would be 4, man. I'd leave the last one open just for something to come in my mind in the next hour. Maybe I'll think of it.
I have a hard time, and I don't know why. Like anytime I think of like top 5 movies for me, they're all just like the stupidest ones.
What comes to mind? Give me like 3.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail is in there for me.
Yeah.
That's a keeper. I would throw Dumb and Dumber in there. And I think the third one would probably be on rotation between movies like Tommy Boy, Joe Dirt would probably be in there. Joe Deveneaux threw Anchorman in. I think there's some.
That's good. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Will Ferrell ones. I got top 2 for sure would be Monty Python and Dumb and Dumber. I don't know. I'd have to think a little bit more.
I got one more for you. Did you ever see Wedding Crashers?
Yeah. That's
Didn't like it.
One. Oh, I fucking loved it.
Okay,
that's right on the cusp.
There.
Yeah, that's right there.
Because you got Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn, and Owen Wilson all at their best. I think they're
super good. They're super good.
And it's just like, I don't know if relatable is the right word, but like, I don't know. I think you just respect these guys and the balls they have and going to as many weddings as they made a business out of it. It's kind of cool to see.
I don't know if this Brendan Horn guy, I don't know who this is, but he must be from a different country because he says Wedding Crashers for
Maybe he's in Canada, French. Man. His picture looks Canadian? Picture looks like he's somewhere in beautiful Canada. We'll have to find out.
He's French Canadian. Actually, he's just southeast and he's down by Seattle.
Okay.
I know it well, but I just had to give him a hard time because I don't know. That's got to be a French word. I don't know French, but that's got to be a French word.
It could be.
Dave Jensen said Beer Fest, which I disagree, but I think like maybe the third one would be Super Troopers. I laugh a lot at Super Troopers. That one's way up there for me.
I've not seen Beer Fest, man. Actually, never even heard of that.
It's from the same dudes that did Super Troopers. It was kind of like the next thing that they did. And it was good. It was good. When I was in college, I was studying in England, and one of the English dudes, like hands down, you couldn't argue with them. His like top movie of all time was Bruce Almighty, and I was just like, I mean,
interesting choice.
It wasn't bad. He was just like instant classic, man, and I was just like, A, like it's funny when you say it like that, and B, like, do you guys not get other movies over here? Like,
was that with Jim Carrey? No.
Yeah, that was Jim Carrey.
It was okay. Yeah, He's a great actor too, man. I think he's Canadian.
Is he really?
I think so. I'll have to Google it, but I think he's Canadian.
We got a lot. That's 2 things we have to Google now. That and what else was the other thing we were going to Google? Something
when our election is. I'll take care of that right now, man. I'm pretty sure it's this year.
I feel like somebody watching can do that for us. They got.
Let's do that. We'll focus on the show.
Yeah. Joe says they watched the producers of Super Troopers House. That's pretty sweet. That's like a claim to fame. It's a little
that's a marketing piece right there for Joe. That's sweet.
Our French friend Brendan Horn says Superbad, and that was a good one. I'll never forget the old like, oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Oh, the funny thing about my back is that it's actually on my cock. I think that was like one of the best. Whoever wrote that had to just like be they had to stop laughing to be able to write the rest of that, because I bet the minute they thought of it, they were just like, oh my God, I have the funniest thing ever that is going to be said here.
Yeah, that's a classic too, man.
Strange Brew, Skip jumping in with some Strange Brew. I always like the organ in Strange Brew. It's just so like ominous and stupid. It doesn't like really fit.
I've not seen that one either, man. You're getting a lot of good comments here.
Get out of
I
here.
didn't know.
You're Canadian and you haven't seen Strange Brew yet?
I'll put it on my list, man. And I found out our election's next year, so we got time.
I'd almost, if I didn't want to talk to you so bad, I'd almost like cancel this show. And,
is that
like,
right?
And let you off the hook to go watch Strange Brew.
Summarize it for me. What am I in? Sum it up what I'm in for. Strange Brew.
Two Canadian brothers. God, what are their names? The two guys that do the Great White North with Geddy Lee from Rush. They do the 12 Days of Christmas, like on the first day of Christmas, my true love got for me a beer. That one.
Yep.
Mike and Doug. Or is it Doug McKenzie? Is it Mike and Doug? Dave and Doug?
Something in Doug.
Yeah. Bill and Doug.
Okay. Someone will find out for us in the comments, man.
McKenzie brothers. Yeah. Skip says McKenzie brothers. I want to say it's Mike and Doug, but I forget. But they're just like two hosers. They say beauty all the time. Two Canadian hosers. They get jobs at a brewery, and then they find out that the master brewer is trying to like take Bob and Doug McKenzie. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Bob and Doug. They get jobs at the brewery because they get kicked out of their parents' house, and they're like in their 40s. And then they find a mouse in a bottle of beer and try to get some free beer that way. And then they find out the master brewer is like trying to take over the world with hockey players from an insane asylum.
Interesting.
The end.
I thought it was going down a line of like Step Brothers, man, like 2 40-year-old adults, and then I was like, oh, maybe not. So it's called Skip Brew, Skip Brothers.
No, Skip is the guy that said the
Strange Brew.
Called Strange Brew.
Okay. I'm confusing Skip with the movie title. Strange Brew. Got it.
Naturally. It could be Strange Shoot and Skip Brew.
Just to confuse us.
Jeremy Brook had to chime in and say Skip Shoot is a hunk.
Okay.
He's officially out hunked my hunk status, Jeremy. Is that what I'm hearing? I think that's what I'm hearing. Dave, how the hell is business for you? What's going on in your world? Are you still running a pressure washing company? Still running a coaching business? What you got going on these days?
Running both, man. Been extra challenging, to be honest. Having our son Beckham's now 9 months old, so I've like stepped into dad life, joining you there, which is sick, but also like running two businesses with two sides of my brain.
And sick because you have a 9-month-old who's probably this time of year like sick half the time.
Yeah, he's been sick a few times, man, which is challenging, especially one time we were away and he got sick in Mexico, which wasn't fun. But overall, sick as in like it's a new stage and it's a fun stage, and it's every day is like a new adventure, man. So it's been fun having, to get more serious, man. It's been fun, like being a dad and having like a business that can operate without me having to do everything, which is like, I feel like I've been working like 15 years to make this happen, So anyone aspiring to start a family or have other priorities, it's like, and you've had this too, man, in your life, like you can set the thing up to have a bit of freedom. And I think that's been pretty cool this year.
It's super cool. And it's a constant balance. It's like the weirdest balance, because I assume you're no different. Like working is fun. And so it's hard to, especially as your kids get older and a little more self-sufficient, like when they're babies, you're just loving them on them. And then they're totally dependent on you. Like mine are now about to be 8, about to be 6, and about to be 2. And the 8 and 6-year-old are just like running around. If they're up and I'm on the screen, they'll come and like hang out with me. Nice. But they're like their own little independent weirdos. And it's awesome, but they can just go do their thing. Yeah. And my job is now to start playing taxi. It's like we got sports.
Yeah, man, I bet. Probably almost every night, hey? Driving somewhere.
Every night. Wow. And a lot of nights it's like divide and conquer. Like Marty, my wife, is going one way, I'm going another way. And then it's like rock, paper, scissors for who brings the 2-year-old, because he wants in, but he's not old enough to be in, but he can't. Like he's just like, all right, like we're doing gymnastics. Let me get my ass out there. I'll show you guys how to do a somersault,
That's awesome.
Are you guys Are you guys a one kid family, a 2-kid family, an 8-kid family? Where do you have a goal?
Oh, how dare you ask? I'm so embarrassed, man. I feel like we're going one at a time, man. I mean,
wait, did I just ask a question that made you slightly uncomfortable?
Oh yeah, no, you didn't. I would say, honestly, man, I feel like 2 or 3 maybe, but just tough to say too. I mean, I've had buddies that have said they want to have, a bunch of kids, and then their first kid is like super challenging, and they're like, all right, one and One's done, good. Right? Yeah. So it's like everyone's so different, but I think like 2 kids, 3 kids, like somewhere in there, we'll just kind of have to see. But yeah, for like right now, it's just a fun stage, man. Being able to, I told my wife the other day, because she's like, what is it? We talk a lot about entrepreneurship. I said, the best way to sum it up is it's that feeling of like Christmas morning, but I feel that like every day. Like I want to like boot down the stairs, get a coffee, and open up my Christmas gifts. And like, we all know that feeling as like young boys or girls. Like I feel that in the morning, man. It's like weird. I'm like, the house is quiet. I get to like, I'm a weird, like analytical business owner too, man. If I get to get up at 6 a.m. and build an SOP before like the family wakes up, it's
dude, that's the best. That's the best. That's
I
the
know.
You can build stuff like that because there's no distractions. Exactly. Once people wake up, there's distractions all over the place. It's impossible.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean like there's hard things to do in the day, but just overall, if I have like a pretty free, open morning to create and build what I'm good at, I just love that. So it's like, finding this balance of like pulling young Dave away from Christmas Day to like go be dad or go be husband. It's not like it's like a chore at all. It's just like I love so much in life.
I want to do.
yeah, man, exactly. And people are like, oh, thank God it's Friday, right? But it's like I really do enjoy my life generally during the week, like during my like 9 to 5 as a business owner.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like thank God it's Friday, in that I know the next day I'm gonna get up at 6 o'clock again. And then I'm going to get like 2 hours of work in.
Yeah, that's nice. An extra hour.
And then every once in a while, one of my kids will come down and just be like, boop. And I'm like, what are you doing up? It's like 6:30. I'm trying to like get some work done here.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be sitting on my lap. And that's cool. Like, again, like, okay, cool. Now we're hanging out and we're going to watch some hunting or fishing on YouTube or whatever kiddie show you want to watch.
Yeah.
Gage Lake checking in, says, what's up, fellas?
What's up, Gage?
Thanks for hanging, man.
Gage is having a kid. Gage is having a kid soon. He just told me.
He's getting in on that.
Yeah, he is.
What you were talking earlier about like kids being easy, kids being difficult. Give your kiddo a ranking on a scale. Let's go do the old 1 to 10.
Man.
1 being like real tough and 10 being like just easy. Easy. Where do you rank your kiddo?
Man, it's like what's tough too, man. I mean, like he ultimately, like, thank God he's healthy, right? Like that's the biggest thing. I think challenges. I think a lot of people don't talk. Like I'll tell you, Dan, when he's 1, so in 3 months, I'm gonna, like, my whole podcast is mostly just business, but I'm gonna make a special episode that's like the 10 things no one tells you about being a new dad. It's just so much stuff, man. Cause it's like everyone, you know how it is, man, on Facebook. It's everyone's highlight reel and the cutest pictures of, but like no one tells you like behind the scenes. So I would say like a challenge for us has been kind of a nap schedule, man. Like you read, first of all, being a parent in 2024, if you're a big researcher, which my wife is, it's great.
It's overwhelming.
But it overwhelmed, man. Exactly.
And I think and contradicting all over.
Yeah, and I think it's tough too on the moms, man, because it's a different, I mean, I'm reading the book right now, man. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's a great refresher how different our programming is in our brain. But for women, man, to read how it should be and then the variance if it's not how it is, I think that can be tough.
There's a lot of guilt that piles up for them.
Yeah, for everything, man, from sleeping to breastfeeding to how you feed your kid to how everything, man, it's way too much. So it's like a heavy burden that way. So I think, just sticking to like a pretty good sleep schedule, and that's controversial too, man. Like people see it from all different ways, but I think that's been one that has been like challenging for sure. We've taken him on an airplane 8 times now, almost every month. So
damn,
we've gotten, man,
traveler.
he went to Vegas and Palm Springs, and we try and keep that up. But I tell you, man, that's a huge thing no one talks about either. Is we traveled a lot when it was just my wife and I. Something we really love to do, but flights used to be, you bring a podcast or a book and you chill out. But now with a kid, man, you're not kicking your feet up. You're moving your feet, and
it's
you're
a different
busy.
ball game. Yeah, and you're like, shh, quiet the kid.
Yeah, it's been good, man, to give you a backbone though, because like when the first plane ride, we're just like not in your stomach. Is that feeling when you go and present to like when you're in high school and you're scared what everyone thinks, you have to go make a presentation, you have that knot in your stomach. You're feeling that on the airplane. But after the first flight, I told my wife, I'm like, babe, everyone here has their earbuds in. Like no one's just really sitting on a plane. No one cares. So the second flight, we're like, all right, you know what? Some tears. It's okay. And you just like, you develop more of a backbone. So that's been a work in progress too.
We didn't take our kids. So we got 7, 5, and 1 right now. But like I said, about to be 8, 6, and 2. Mm-hmm. We didn't take our kids on a flight until this year.
How did that go?
Our oldest 2. Holy shit. I'd have to scroll back through my Facebook feed because I was just like writing some of the funny things they said. They were uncontrollably like pumped. Once they were on the plane, literally once they were on the plane, they were like, this is boring. And I was like, what? Like we're way up in the sky. Like this is the boring part. But like going through the airport and the escalators and all the stuff, they just felt like it was the biggest playground in the world. They thought it was the coolest thing. My oldest one, we got into the terminal. We were sitting down, like having a beer and some nachos while we were waiting to board the plane. And my oldest one's like, I think we're just gonna live here. And I like at the bar, she goes, I think I'm just gonna live here at this bar. And I just kind of looked at her, and she's like, well, because I could eat here, and then I'll just sleep on the elevator. That was
good to go.
The end. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, like this is just the coolest thing. Like it's a new place. It's a gross bar and a gross elevator, but it's where you want to spend the rest of your life. That's cool.
But it's got to be a fun age to travel with, though. Hey, 8. Or I guess you said a year ago, so it would have been like 7 and 5. But
it was like last month. We went down to Disney. Okay. We were down for the PWMCA conference in Orlando, and we did the Disney thing with them, and it was cool. They loved it, but it was just like watching their, like they're old enough to try to like soak it all in. Yeah, and just trying to be like, how the hell does this thing get off the ground? How are we going to land this thing? What's happening? And then they're playing on their screen because they're kids. And
but man, if they love the airport, Disney probably blew their mind. Hey,
I think it blew my mind more just because I could appreciate all the crazy ass details. I think they were just like, sweet roller coaster.
Like how clean, man. What I remember, I went back in 2008, first time and only. How clean it was. I just remember that. I was like 19 years old and walking through, there wasn't a stitch of trash anywhere. I thought that was cool. And
for like the tens of thousands of people going through there in a day. Yeah. Like it is, it's well done, well orchestrated.
Yeah. I'll drop a resource, man. It's called a book. I'm looking at it on my shelf. It's called Creating Magic. It's about how Disney actually grew from like a leadership perspective. And it's like, I'm a big fan of keeping things simple. So it's like 10 leadership principles, how the Disney brand grew. Is like a really good read. So it's called, Creating Magic. It's a good book.
Write it down, everybody. Write it down.
Write it down.
You got a couple comments here. You got Ivan saying, Dave, just get it done. Pump out 2 more.
2 more kids or 2 more books?
Probably 2 more kids. This was back when we were talking about how many kids you were going to have. So I think
2 more for Ivan. Well, if Ivan's saying to do it, I guess we got it, right?
Yeah, just knock out some twins. Just throw some gas on the fire, knock out some twins. Gage says, do you guys plan
into homeschool? Oh man, tough question. I don't know yet. I think probably not, but maybe. Honestly, Beckham's only 9 months, so I feel like we've got some time. Our next thing is like, does my wife go back to work? Does she not? Does she, what does she want to do? So she works in my coaching business a bit, which has been fun, but she's like a nurse with her master's degree and loves her job. So we're like, oh, do we do the daycare thing? I guess, Dan, my question for you, to put you on the spot, what was the jump like from 2 kids to 3? Because conceptually, I can wrap my head around another one, and I know it would be crazy, but from 2 to 3, I can't do it.
So you're right about the second one. It's just like we had our second one. They're basically like 2 years apart, 22 months apart.
Yeah.
And that was just like perfect. It was the right time to have a second kid for us. We knew we wanted to have 2. And so that just kind of like got that done. We weren't sure if we were going to have a third one. We waited until probably like we had 4 and 2. And then somewhere in there, we decided like, you know what? We haven't decided not to.
Yeah.
And so the logic literally just became, well, we haven't decided not to.
So
and if we don't, now we're probably going to regret it. Like we're always going to say, what if? And for me, it was just me and my older brother. Marty's the oldest of 4 siblings. She's got 3 younger siblings.
Big family. Yeah.
Yeah. And we both come from bigger families. Like my mom, there were 7 in her family, and her mom, I think same thing. I think there were 7 of them. And so the number of aunts and uncles and cousins and all that. And so whenever there's like a family get together, we appreciate like way more than when we were younger. As we get older, we're like, this is awesome, all getting together. And it helps, like our families are both really awesome. So
that helps a lot.
It's a different picture, right? But so then we were like, all right, we're going for 3. And we ended up having a miscarriage the first time. And so that, and like stupidly, and this was like the biggest bummer of it, is when my wife found out, because it just wasn't the thing we thought about. Like the first 2 were super great, super healthy, like not easy pregnancies. The first one was a little bit more of a challenge, not even a challenging delivery. I can't say that. The first one was more challenging than the second one, because the second one took 17 minutes from the time we got to the hospital. Like,
wow, fast delivery.
Yeah, I called the Jimmy John's delivery. Like, it's freaky fast. I almost was going with a delivery on the highway. Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan, bookkeeping and delivery.
Yeah.
The damn delivery. Sorry.
Could have been, probably would have been the worst damn delivery. But I was actually like in the boundary waters, northern Minnesota, Canada border, no cell service, no nothing. And my wife went in for her first appointment, like for an ultrasound, and like no heartbeat. And so she had to go through that like by herself. Man, it was the worst feel. It was like, I mean, I can't even like imagine what it felt like for her. Granted, thank God her family's around and all that. But I wasn't there. And so I got back, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that experience also just dictated, it's like, now we're like, we got to get back on that horse.
Right. Yeah.
No pun intended. I don't know.
There you go.
But so we were like, after that, we were just like super committed to trying to have our third kiddo. And so after that, our kids were, 6 and 4 when we had the baby. And then they're both out of diapers. It kind of sucks.
They're in a new stage, because even 6-year-old would be like in school age, man.
Yeah. And it's like they got their own thing going on. And now it's like, it's almost like we got a dog. Honestly, like no joke. This was a conversation I had with Reggie, who's my 6-year-old, my younger of the 2. Her and I literally on the way home, we were talking about dogs, and we saw a dog walking down the street. And I was like, Reg, what would you want to get if we got a dog? She's like, we already have a dog. His name is Crosby. Like,
so funny.
He's the dog. And like, he just is. He's like the family pet. He's just a little goofball. And he's like, he's loving on everybody, and everybody's loving on him. Like, he might as well be a dog. So it's like, it's almost, so it's hilariously easy, because the girls are resourceful and can help. It's not, my sister-in-law has 3 kids. Like, they were all like 3 kids under 4. I think that would be like total chaos for us. It ended up being nice that there was this gap, because now the older 2 can like help and and can get their own food and do their own thing. And Crosby.
So you got two girls, and then your baby is the son, is Crosby, or the dog. So 2.
Dog.
That's awesome, man. So it's been maybe less challenging due to like the gap, maybe, is what you're saying?
I think part of it is the gap, and part of it was just like the commitment or the decision we made. Like, it got us like more excited that we had another healthy baby, and everything worked out. And so, and it's also just one of those things where it's like, once you've done it once, it just gets so much easier, right? It's I'm going through this now that I started a new bookkeeping business. Like this business is so much easier for me to build than any business I've ever built before.
And why is that? Because you have the skills.
You just know what to do. Like you don't lose sleep over the stuff that you used to lose sleep over. It's like, I know I need to hire a person, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess it helps that I own part of a recruiting business. So I feel like I got like a step up, but I also I've hired hundreds of people and fired half of them. Right. And so it's like, I used to lose sleep over that. Yeah. Now I don't. I hired awesome people and I just know exactly how I'm going to go do it. And it just changes. Like you just get that much more confident with it.
It's cool, man. Seeing the past like molehills that you turned into mountains, right? I've been, I actually I'm looking at it right now. It's a journal called One Line a Day, and it tracks for 5 years. So like today is whatever, April 10. It tracks like today, April 10, next year, April 10, the year after. And so I just got it, but because I'd been kind of organically filling out journals, just random thoughts from the day. But a lot of my stresses I was reading about a couple months back would be back from like 2019, 2020, 4 or 5 years ago. And they were all like incidents we had at Revive, right? One was got a lot of pressure washers listening to this, right? So one was like, one of our techs took a like 4,000 PSI pressure washer and like gouged this guy's like wood deck. And like, he was so upset. And like, we ended up having to pay out of pocket for that. And I was journaling like so stressed out. Another one, we like a gutter bucket fell down the roof and smashed this guy's like glass awning. And that was like $1,700 and freaking out at the time. And now like 4 years later, at perspective, I'm like, a lot of this crap, man, can just be fixed with writing a check. And I realize that's privileged to say, but if you build a sustainable business and keep a little cash reserve, a lot of these problems can get fixed. And when we're talking health of family or loved ones, it's such a different category than like these things that happen in business. So when you have that like gap of perspective, that's just helped me over the years, like look back and be like, man, I've come like so far emotionally.
There's a very recurring theme that I see with people that I coach and people that I do the CFO stuff for and bookkeeping clients of ours. And I'm in a CEO roundtable group in Minneapolis here. And like with damn near an R squared of 1, I'm going stats here. I'm going with stats shit. Damn near an R squared of 1. The correlation between people that have been through really painful stuff. I mean, like really close family deaths, overcame like drug problems, overcame like parental drug problems, or like anything like that. When people have overcome really horrendous things, they're impossible to compete with. Because they don't care. Like bad things happen and they are unfazed. They're like, oh, you think this is bad? Like, I'll tell you about some bad stuff, right? When people have overcome and like the harder problems people have solved, the more ridiculously relentless they are. And they just don't get phased by like little things like a $1,700 piece of glass. Like they'd be just like, man, I bet I could like glue that piece of glass back together faster than you figure out how
fishing line, right?
I'm sew this thing. But for sure, like we just get battle tested, and the more problems we solve. I actually to that point, one of my core values in my new business, because I'm a sucker for acronyms. So my
I love it. What is it? Say it out.
Best. It's best.
Okay.
B is blessed. B for blessed. E for efficiency, because I hate when accountants do accounting things for the sake of doing accounting instead of like actually value added stuff. The S is for steadfast.
Nice. I love that.
You can't compete with somebody that can like solve problems fast and doesn't whine, doesn't bitch, doesn't blame people. They just get to it. That's Skip, who was commenting before. That son of a bitch is steadfast.
Steadfast. S.
He's a badass. And then the T is for trustworthy, because we're a bookkeeping company.
That's great.
So like,
man, that it should go without saying, but it doesn't. But man, if you read David Goggins' book, familiar, Can't Hurt Me. Like I listened to it on Audible when I was going through kind of a fitness kick, and I remember like running on the treadmill listening. He reads his own book on Audible.
And you ran like 50 miles on the treadmill.
Buddy, like and you're just like, okay, I'm going through a hard time on this treadmill, but listening to what he's saying, it's almost laughable, man, of like the gap. And even for me to say, oh, I've went through these hardships, like not really, man. Comparatively, like good upbringing, good education. Like I have worked really hard in business. Yeah. But I was set up for success to be in college and meet the student painter recruiter who said, here's a franchise, go paint. And of course I got after it, but I was very much like put on kind of this path. So it's all relative, I think, how you see it. But I do think we don't talk about it enough, but there is a bit of luck involved in business. But like luck paired with like working your ass off, you can really build a great future.
Yeah. I have I don't know, I can't say it's like jealousy, but I don't know a better word for it. Somebody chime in with the right word for this. But there's a part of me that's a little bit like I don't wish something terrible happened to me, but I'm like a little bit jealous of people that have overcome things that I've just never encountered. And like I don't want those things to happen, right? I don't want horrendous things to happen in my life. But when I see people that have overcome that, just their resiliency is off the charts. Yeah. And there's part of me that says like you can't get that any other way but having something terrible happen to you. And I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But like, there's no better way to. I was listening to a Meat Eater podcast today, and they were talking about. Have you ever listened to Meat Eater?
No, I've heard of it. Haven't listened.
It's actually I listened to it because I'm an outdoorsy redneck fool. But also they're really good at creating content, and I listen to them to try to be a better podcast host because they're really good at bringing on guests and talking to them and making it fun. But their episode that I was listening to today was like the dude's dog fell off a ledge, like fell off a cliff. They thought they were going to have to put it down. Their kids were with, and the guy whose dog it was like the only, like, I was also looking at it from like, if this happens, this is good for my kids to like go through now. Like it'd be one thing if like I died, right? If their dad died or whatever the case was. And the dog is fine. Broken leg, bunch of bruises, fell off a cliff. But he like kind of felt guilty about having the thought, but he's like, this would teach my kids a really valuable lesson about how fragile life is and the right time to be careful and all that stuff. And I kind of feel like it's like that. It's like, we don't want bad things to happen, but man, like the people that have overcome bad things are just tough sons of bitches. They're just tough.
And even running a business too. I think if you run a business, I'd say more than 3 years, some would even say a few months, but I'd say to go through some like really hard times in business. I think if you do 3 runs around the base path, you would run into some pretty hard stuff. And I do think if someone was like gun to the head, like what's the one thing that creates a successful entrepreneur among all the traits, I would honestly say it is just resilience, like just showing up regardless of feeling or circumstances and just getting after it. And if you stop asking yourself less like, how are you feeling today? And more like, what do you actually have to get done, irregardless of your feelings? I think it's kind of beat into me from a young age, man, I grew up in Southern Ontario and we would play soccer in the snow, in the rain. They'd only call the game, Dan, if there's like actually constant thunder and lightning. It's like, okay, a kid might actually get struck by lightning. We should probably call the game. Like you're not canceling.
Only 2 kids have been struck so far. And so I think maybe now.
Exactly.
So Rob had, he wrote in here Yinglings, and I know the beer Yingling, but I'm wondering if that's also a word for what I'm trying to describe. Cause I almost feel like I need to invent a word that's not like jealousy. Cause you're never jealous.
Maybe that's the word, man. I'd never heard of it.
I'm looking up Yinglings. There's a beer in Pennsylvania called Yingling, and I know that one. And it's actually the oldest operating brewing company in the United States.
Is that right?
According to some shit I just read on Google as I'm scrolling down.
Crazy.
Anyway, maybe that's what they named it after. Maybe there were a couple of resilient fellows that started that.
Never know.
I do. I think back to like growing a maid service business from nothing and running our window cleaning companies and our businesses around the country when I was at Blue Skies. And I just look back at it. I'm just like, man, I don't think I realized how ridiculously tough that was. And I would never do it again, but I wouldn't take it back in a second. Like I don't regret it one bit. I'll never forget. One of my employees like called me from somebody's roof saying he was about to jump. And I was just like,
is that right? Wow.
I don't know how you train yourself for this, But and he just happened to be like I was about to head out on vacation with the family, and he happened to be as far away on the other side of town. It was like 2 hours away. And I was like, yo, bud, I'm on my way. I'm gonna come and help you finish that job, and we'll get her done. And just wait for me. I'll be there. And that was what I did. And we went on vacation the next day.
You got it, man.
There's just like stuff where you just can't. There's no substitute for like I gotta go be a good human and do the thing.
Man, you can't go away and enjoy your time, man. So that makes sense. I guess, man, that's where I first learned about you, to be honest, was I believe it was you or someone at the Blue Skies team was on, I want to say like Latimer's podcast, man. And you guys were giving away, I think it might have been you, man. You were giving away like a checklist for hiring or something. I forget.
Yeah, admin. I always give everything away, Dave. That's kind of my shit. So I don't charge anything for anything.
And people. And I was like, who is this guy? And that's where I like kind of first learned about like Blue Skies, and then more got to know you. But I guess, man, to like, you do a really good job with this show. I would just love for you to sum up, because you've like rebranded a few things, and like, what are the businesses like you currently have right now?
So we
just spell them out.
We sold almost. I don't have much right now. We sold pretty much all of our operating companies, because with 3 kids, it just didn't make. They were all distant. Yeah, they weren't where I was. And as we grew the bookkeeping and the recruiting, that became like my identity and kind of my jam, right? Especially the bookkeeping side of it, hence Best Damn Bookkeeping. So Dalkey and I and 2 other partners, Mike Dalkey and I and 2 other partners, kind of decided, and probably like, frankly, for my sake, we waited too long to exit those businesses. I was not the right operator to travel around the country and try to run small to medium-sized-ish home service businesses around the country. I think the 4 of us would all agree it was a pretty stupid strategy. And again, I don't regret it. I just won't do it again. It was a lot of work. Not the right size of business to do that business model. Yeah. But it was also the thing that was the trampoline for getting our bookkeeping business off the ground and the recruiting business off the ground, which like we had back in even like 2014. That was when the business started, but it was just administrative to like serve our companies. It was never, the vision was never to take it external. It was just an administrative company to serve all of our businesses. We were going to have 50 locations, and it was just like a central, admin team, if you will.
But man, that's like the skill set I feel like gave you, like, you very much think and serve like a small business owner, right? And I think it's probably because of that experience. Would that be fair to say? Probably.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's my favorite client. Like, the smaller the business, the more obsessive I am about helping them. I'll figure it out. I get flack from Megan Likes, who's another bookkeeper. She's like, you don't charge enough. I'm just like, no, my minimum's just really low, because my favorite client is the dude that's like just getting to somewhere between like 50 and 100,000. He's just figuring
just getting going.
And he's gonna like hire his first person, and he's got it like, he just went from, I think I'm just gonna do this to make a few bucks, to, oh, should I have a business, and do I want to start growing a business? Like, that's the dude I want to help.
So what do you charge, or is it like you have to get on a call and find out the pricing? Are you transparent with like what would a guy doing 100K have to pay for bookkeeping? I think a lot of listeners like have no idea what it would charge.
Like 147 is my minimum. Usually
a month.
Yep, 147 a month, and usually it's between there and like 200 when people are like early on starting out. But I always say my pricing is super custom to their workload. I never want it to be based on their revenue. And like, I'm not the government. I don't penalize you as you grow your business and make more money. I'm not like, give me my cut. So it's always based on their transactions and the number of accounts they have synced up, because that's what creates work for us, is more buttons to click, more stuff to reconcile, more stuff to report. So it's always custom pricing. And I've had
that's so good though.
I've had really big businesses with low prices, and they're like, this is crazy, you're so much cheaper. I'm just like, yeah, but you're so much easier. Like, you're super efficient, and that's fine.
And man, what's the lifetime value too of someone needing bookkeeping too? You think about that, like, 147 is maybe seen as too cheap, but if someone is truly successful, man, and stays in business and with you, let's just say for a decade, that's 120 months at 147. It's a pretty good business then. And I know you too, man, you're not doing these businesses for the money either. Like, it's pretty clear like why you would host a show like this, because you just enjoy it, right?
It's just super fun. This is for me.
Yeah, for you. It's good though. You got to have it, man.
I'm glad there's some people watching and it'll get listened to, but selfishly, like, this is for me. Thank you, guys.
100%.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because when I was starting, so the reason I started this business is my only, maybe it's a regret, maybe it's not. My lapse in judgment was when we started the admin company. I just started it under our holding company.
Right.
When we first started taking on external clients, I should have realized, like, this is my jam. This is my secret sauce. This is what I love to do and what I'm really good at.
Yeah.
Because when I first started with Blue Skies back in like 2011, helping Dalkey with stuff, I was helping him with budgeting and QuickBooks and acquisitions, like CFO stuff for him. And if I like pulled my head on my ass now, I'd be like, oh, I should have just been like, this is what I'm really good at, and I can help people with this stuff.
Yeah.
Instead, I spent 6 years trying to figure out how to scale home service businesses remotely, and it was miserable. Yeah. And then I got back to, let me help businesses with their finances and figuring their shit out.
It's so funny, man. Yeah, it's come like full circle. So you run Best Damn Bookkeeping, and then what else do you have going?
So Best Damn Bookkeeping is me 100% running that. That's just like day-to-day living my best life. And then I bought the recruiting business from Blue Skies.
You did? Okay.
When I exited that. So Michael Gregory from Click Call Sell, he and I own that 50-50. Sean Day operates it with us. And it's basically the same thing we had at Blue Skies. We changed some stuff because Michael's freaking brilliant. And so he brought some great ideas to the table.
You changed the name too, right? What's it called?
Hire Lead Chill.
Yeah, that's right. Hire Lead Chill. Okay, yeah. So Sean's running that. I see Sean on that. Okay, cool.
Yep. So he's doing that. And then I'm partnered. I was partnered in Kahuna Window Cleaning here in the Twin Cities with Andy. We were just able to get that whole business to him. And that was like one of the goals for him when we merged with him, was like, it was a way to get him a bigger business and like level up things for him, and then eventually give him the opportunity. And so this year he came to us and he's like, hey, like, now's the time. So that was cool to be able to exit that and get that business to him. And then like literally in the same like 2 weeks that happened, I got involved in a different pressure washing business down in Florida. So
cool. So are you buying, like, maybe, I don't know how much you can share, but you know, are you buying into these businesses and just helping them scale one at a time then?
Not like aggressively or intentionally. I'm just like, it's just where I see some help is needed. And a buddy of mine in Florida needed some help, and there was labor I could put in and money I could put in. And I was like, fuck you, I'm coming. Like, I'm helping, whether you like it or not. We're going to figure this thing out. And now's the time. So,
man, what do business owners struggle with? Like getting great people. So like you're turning that on with the recruiting, and then like really knowing their numbers, making money. That's a huge one that you'd have the finances on. You're just missing like the marketing and the sales, which you kind of did with your other gig with Blue Skies. Kind of cool.
Being a bookkeeper though is kind of funny because you just have this like insight into what works and what doesn't work, because I mean, and you get this from coaching too, like you just see what everybody's doing. And so it's like you in a secondhand sort of way, like, you know, a lot of stuff that would take you a lot of R&D to figure out. You get to see what's working and how people are implementing stuff. And so I can kind of bring that to the table and say, hey, let's focus on this or let's focus on that. So that's been super cool. But back to the money side of it. That was like super important to me when I started Best Damn Bookkeeping, because when I was at Blue Skies, I didn't like protect my worth, if you will. And so I just kept buying into this holding company. But then when it came down to like, I grew this big bookkeeping business, I only owned 13% of it. And I was like,
it's tough.
No, I'm an idiot. Like, what did I do here?
So this one, you're keeping like the full thing for the foreseeable, like you're going to own it all and grow it for now.
Until like, if I'm this is like just me for now. And this isn't advice to anybody. This isn't like, hey, do it this way, and if you don't, you're an idiot. But this is just what works for me for now, is if I'm going to operate it, like if I'm in the day-to-day running the thing, I want to own 100% of it.
Makes sense.
At some point when I'm hiring an operator and I'm more of an investor and advisor, I want the operator to have the equity, and at some point the majority of the equity. And that's a discussion like we're literally having with Sean at Hire Lead Chill, which is how do we get it so that like you own your baby? Because I don't want to have happen to him what happened to me, which is like, shit, I don't know my baby. Now it's too expensive for me to buy, and I can't, like, I tried to buy it, I couldn't buy it. I got to start over.
It can get confusing too, man. Like I think a lot of entrepreneurs listening think like selling off equity is one way, but like what I've found in my journey, at least with my washing business, is building in a profit share for my key managers. And that's been a year and a half now, and been cool to have them like incentivized personally on watching the bottom line of my business. And so there's so many different ways you can carve it up, but I do think selling equity is one way, but the profit share one has served me well in the last couple seasons.
When I built this business, even like my account managers who are overseeing our clients have all the upside.
Nice.
So it kind of functions like a profit share. It's, I don't know if in your washing business, you do some like budget or like a base plus a bonus or commission style, like performance style pay. We always did that in our service companies. And at the end of the day, a bookkeeping business is the exact same, right? Yeah. It's more like a maid service business because it's a recurring service. But I was like, how do I give my team the upside? I want to write a $3,000 paycheck, and I want my attitude about it to be fuck yeah, instead of like, oh shit, I'm going broke. And so I built it that way. Like,
it's so cool, man.
They get to win.
So why would someone say no to that offer though? I mean, we've heard Hormozy say make an offer so good people feel dumb saying no. Like, why would someone say no to $150, $200 a month? Like, it's something I've been trying to wrap my head around. I understand there's like budgets and people are getting their business going, but you know, you came on and taught our group a few months back, and you're basically just like, and I love the advice, man, like stop doing these $25 an hour tasks in your business, right?
Yeah.
Which you're not an expert at, but like, why do you think business owners hold on and look at that as like a cost versus like, I'm actually getting my time back?
It's funny you bring that up because that was what my earlier radio show was about today. I got Angela Schroeder on the show who runs Unique Genius VAs. And I was like, Angela, why don't I have a VA yet? Why am I the one? Like tonight, before you and I jumped on here, I'm in there sending out invoices and setting up new clients and pushing them through this onboarding checklist. Like, why am I the one doing this? So
what would you say? Yeah.
It's so funny. I know that I need a VA to be doing this. And like, I'm trying to, no, I'm just making fucking excuses, Dave. I should have hired a VA a while ago. I was trying to like time it out right for when I felt like things were going to be at their busiest. Well, now things are at their busiest. And I should have had this person before and had them trained up instead of throwing them in like right in the fire.
Yeah.
And we do that all the time as small business owners. I don't know how many more times I'm going to do it. But I'm gonna have a darn VA starting in the next week or two. I know that for sure.
Yeah, man. I think it's worth it. I think it's like a control thing though too, right? As much as I think it's so easy to say delegate and it's so hard to do for a lot of us, right?
I suck at it. I feel like you're pretty damn good at it by now.
I wouldn't say pretty damn good, man, but I think I've gotten better for sure. But I think you delegate too quick and then you can get like burned pretty bad as well, which I've had as well. So like, I think you learn it for sure. I'm not naturally, man, very patient. So I'm not a great trainer, but I love like looking for great people that are good fits to my core values and bringing them in. But where I've missed is I put them in a role and then I don't train them great. And then the thing blows up. I've had that before. So that's the part of my game I'm working on, is slowing it down and training a bit more.
That's me I hired 2 people on Monday in like my busiest week. I have no time for them this week. And I brought them in Monday and I was like, here's the thing, you guys, there's 7 of us here and you're here, you're hired. This is like our team meeting. Here's the things we got going on. I'm going to spend this hour just talking through some stuff to give you like the gist of what we do. And then you're hanging out with them. And then you're hanging out with them. And we're just going to like shadow and trade shadowing until we check all these boxes of things you need to know. But I feel really shitty because I'm like, come on and join our awesome team. Yeah. Okay, thanks for showing up. I got to go do some sales demos and then some coaching calls and then do some podcasts and then do some other things. And I'll see you next week.
It depends who you want to work with, man. Like I heard on a podcast, Donald Miller, he wrote Story Brand, big business guy. He basically said when he interviews his VAs, his first question is, what do you expect from me from a weekly time commitment? And one VA is like, I want to have a 15-minute call with you he's like, nope, not going to be a good fit. So he's like, I look for very highly competent people that don't need a lot of my time and they can just get it. And you're going to do a lot of interviews to find those people. But when I'm hearing that, I'm like, man, paired with my lack of patience and training, I feel like someone more along those lines would be a good fit. Case in point, 2 weeks ago, I hired a guy in marketing for my company, and I'm going to try it. And in the interview, I was learning stuff from him, man, that I'm like, this is refreshing. Like this guy, and I'm paying him more than I wanted to, but I'm like, I'm actually buying his brain. So we're on a 1-month trial right now, and I'm giving him tasks every few days and seeing where it goes. So, you know, you got to kind of learn your tendencies to who you work well with.
Yep. I had a gal, I interviewed her. I actually, this is like classic Dan Plata owning a recruiting company here.
Yeah.
Always be recruiting. You know how we do it. I have a account manager that I already hired that started a few weeks ago. Charity. She's doing awesome. I have an account manager, Katie, who's going to start like end of May, like already committed and we're committed. Like this is what we're doing. So that's ready to go. And I've been interviewing. I've probably had 40 people through group interviews. And I've got a lot of good people. So I just have this huge hopper of people. While I interviewed one gal, and she came with like the skill set already to be super useful. And there's a lot of people I want to hire, but immediately with talking to her, I was like, I got to figure out like this person needs to be, I don't want to risk them going and finding something else. And then when I reach out to them, I don't have, they're found something awesome besides what I have. And so I was like, all right, we're doing this. She even, after my first interview, which is not even an interview, it's like me doing a sales presentation to them about our business and them opting in. After that, she had sent me an email that says like, I'm all in on this. I know you can't hire me till like August, but what can I just start helping with? Like you're probably doing some of this, you're probably doing some of that. And so it wasn't like hey, what can you do for me? It was like, I think there's things in my experiences that I can come in and like help immediately. So she jumped in, she started this week, and she's going to start helping with onboarding stuff to get new clients through the kind of bottleneck for us. But man, it's like, when you find somebody that's just like the right complement and has the right skill set, the right brain for how you want to interact with your clients, it's like, I can't afford not to have you on my team. I gotta figure out how to get you into the right seat and get you rolling, because I don't want you to find something else.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And it's worth, I think, anything in life really, for me, whether it's a car or a house or whatever, you always pay a little bit more than you like want to, but you do get what you pay for. And I do think, here's the thing, Dan, if you get, let's say a rock star is, let's say $40 an hour for whatever role, and you score them at 25 an hour, and you're telling your buddies at the bar, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, at some point that person's going to lift their head up, jump on Indeed, or tell a friend of a friend, and you're making how much for this skill? And people are not dumb. They can go on and see what they're being paid for their role. So, you know, I just think businessmen, it's all just equilibrium. You quote a gutter cleaning job for 800 when it should be 400. It's going to come back around. They're not going to re-up with you. So just not being too cheap and underselling yourself, but not going sky high and being greedy. Like, and that goes with hiring people too. I found is just like, find that sweet spot that's fair. And you hit it on the head, man. Like a base with a bit of performance, I think, after training, those are like my favorite roles to pay people that way.
Yeah. You said a word that always like strikes home to me. And it's a word that we learn as youngsters to disrespect. And as an adult, I'm learning that it's so much more important than we're led to believe, which is, you always hear growing up, like, life ain't fair. And people tell you that as an excuse for, I'm too lazy to try to help solve this problem for you. But fairness is a fucking real thing, and people care about it. And it's perception, but it is reality. And if things are unfair, it's going to come out. It's going to be known. And so I'm with you. It's like, I don't, and back to starting this business, the point of this business isn't to fill Dan's pocket with as much money as possible. All I need is, I've drank Busch Light, and I deer hunt with a bow. Like, I don't need a bunch of money. My house doesn't need to be nice. It's just a place I store my shit. So I can like take a shower and go back out in the woods or out on the water. I don't need nice things. I just need enough beer and like a roof to put over my family's head.
Man. And you know what motivates you, right? I think a lot of people are running after the car and the house and the nice clothes when that actually doesn't fill them up. Like my wife and I looked at our budget. We're like, we really enjoy like eating out, like at happy hours. And then we enjoy traveling. And like that's kind of where our extra disposable income is going to go. Right. We're not into like clothes and fancy jewelry. I don't even own a watch, man. Like I don't have a suit. I have 2 pairs of pants. Like don't need it.
I own the sweet ass fancy Apple Watch because my buddy Ben upgraded his and gave me his for free. Otherwise,
how do you like it? Because my buddies, I hear it every month. Have you got your Apple Watch yet, Dave? No, I haven't. Is it worth it?
I don't know. It's just a watch, dude.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't like it's not. I do. I work out, and so it's nice. It's better than I had like a Fitbit. It's better than my Fitbit was.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't like having a watch that I can talk to people on. Is just not a need for me.
Man, and do you like to be reached 24/7? Like for me,
I quite prefer to not be reached.
Yeah, man, I'm in flight mode every day, but I'm not on a plane. I just go in airplane mode, man. It's the best.
Yeah, just I'll get back to you when I feel like coming out of flight mode, man.
Yeah. So if it's on my wrist everywhere, I don't know, man. I think it kind of robbed me of a bit of my peace.
Yeah, I'm with you. I might just start ditching my watch and wear it when I go and work out.
There you go.
Rob had a good one here, and I think we could go on this one for.
Let's do it. Read it out.
They said, when can us in stage 1.5 move to stage 3? Hiring a VA, offloading trust to employees, dumping majority of profit back into marketing. From a mindset perspective, is it just the decision to do this, an all-in thing? I like that you wrote thing. What do you think, Dave? What is like the steps to go from stage 1.5 to stage 3, if you will?
Yeah. So stage 1 or 1 and 2, 1.5, whatever. I think Rob's saying like getting off the truck.
Oh yeah, he's saying 1/2. He's not saying
he's tricky. It's hard over text. Man, biggest thing, like I think I'll put it this way, like when home service business owners were feasting on leads in 2020, 2021, 2022, it was like, get off the truck, right? And we help guys do that, girls do that in our program. It's kind of shifted in the last year, though, I think, as people's disposables have tightened up. It's more of a lead game now, man, where we're like, we need more leads and sales. And of course, depending on the business, the owner should be off the truck. But I actually think now we're seeing a lot of success with business owners hiring not full-time, but just a part-time office admin. So, you know, I had my buddy Brandon on the show with Ninja VA. He puts a VA in your business, man, for like $1,000. It's like, what's that worth to your marriage and your mental health and everything else? So I think whether you go that route or like what I personally believe is hire someone locally for 3 to 4 hours a day. That's just what I did in my business. Mm-hmm. But that's like the first thing, man. Like, conversation ends. No more coaching for Rob if he does not have that part-time. Like, do not pass go and collect $200. Like you got to do that first thing. So for numbers, guys, I say about 5% of your overall revenue should get chucked over to a VA. If I got 100K business, there's 5K right on my desk. It's going to a VA, to an office admin. That'd be the first thing.
Yeah. I think, and I'm super guilty of waiting too long to do that. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Because it's just so easy for us to like kick it down the road and be like, no, I got this. I'll do this at night instead of like hanging out with my family. I'll jump on and send invoices tonight. It's just,
man, I'll tell you, the death of a business is the owner doing things that are easy to them and they're good at, but are not the highest value add to the business. So that's like cancer 101. So that's usually plays in with the office. And here's the thing, Dan, most of us are not very administrative as is. Like, we'd rather be out.
Oh, we're terrible.
Shaking hand. That's the thing. So like, I would almost say part-time office admin. And then for bonus points, if you can do it in the same season, like find a technician you can start training up. Even if that guy or girl quits in a month or two, you're going to get your reps in and your at-bats in to actually learn, okay, I did an interview. I brought someone to training. I dealt with all their excuses. I built a basic standard operating procedure to clean a window. So like, rarely do these first hires stick, man. For me, it was 5 hires to get someone in my office to be like, I got someone awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say like 3 is the median number. Like it's probably going to take a few.
Yep.
And it's not worth settling.
No.
They're your quarterback. You don't want Zach, whatever his name is, that played for the Jets. Does he still play for the Jets? I don't know.
I don't know. I need to watch more football. But you're right, man. You're right. Like I think we think hiring, like I think it's entrepreneurship's done a good job of making hiring seem glamorous and delegate, get it off your plate. But we don't talk about it will probably take you 3 times to get punched in the nuts to be like, okay, I think I'm getting it. So like it just takes time. And the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up that first technician no call, no show. Like, welcome to the game.
Yeah. Why do you only have 1 starting today? Probably start 3 and be ready to fire the worst 2. Let them know there's a little competition.
What did you guys do at Blue Skies, man?
Yeah.
Hiring people, like that would have been stress every day, man. People not showing up.
I mean, it was until Rob just chimed in about group interviews. I'm using my group interview strategy. Rob and I talked about it maybe a month or so ago, the group interview process. And we did it at Kahuna. Andy actually like really got it dialed in. Nice. And I started doing that, hiring bookkeepers or account managers for my business. And hence why I have like 10 of them that I want to hire. I just can't hire them. Like I can so efficiently get through interviews. And I can be abrasive and a loudmouth, and I am, and I give them a sales presentation, and then they opt in or opt out. Yeah. And once they opt in, and obviously we use Hire Lead Chill and Sean to like filter everybody. So by the time they get there, and then I present to them what it's all about, and like when they opt in, they're in.
Yeah, that's great.
The rest is kind of history. I would add for Rob going from like stage 1 to 2 to stage 3, definitely, and you hit it on the head, Dave. Like the admin role, like you jumping in and playing that is just taking money out of your pocket because 100%. you're giving up the highest paying job in the company, which is probably at that level, the lead tech job. You're like racing to get off the truck to go take a job that you can hire somebody for pennies on the dollar for. And they're going to be better than you at it.
Yep.
And so you're like demoting yourself into a job that you're worse at.
Yep.
I get you being the salesperson. Like you probably are the salesperson in your business for a while, and that's cool. And you probably love it. And so maybe stay there for a long while, whatever you love to do. But I do see people race off the truck too fast and give up the highest paying jobs to other people. And they go do the lowest paying job and they get to a couple $100,000. They're like, man, I was making so much money and now I'm not making any money anymore. And it's like, yeah, because you're paying the money you make to everybody else.
Yeah. And man, I think that office admin, that the owner might push back and say, oh, I'm able to make deals and approve jobs and whatever. But I think you want to be the rainmaker in your business, man. Like most of us see the companies we work with, the owner stays in an in-person sales role until they get to like 500K. Like usually that's the place where they're like, okay, I need to start bringing someone else in. And man, a lot of companies are happy owning a 500K business where the owner makes $150. They're off the tools with 4 techs and 1 office admin. Like killer lifestyle, man. Like to move that and go beyond that is not for everybody. But I think a lot of these owner operators at 100, 200K is like find that part-time office admin and then take a season and get your head right with the hiring. And man, I think you ask someone what they want from their business. I don't actually think most people know until they see a business where they're like, what that guy has, I want that. A lot of people hiring don't know what they want in a tech because they've never actually seen like what a rock star tech is. So like you got to keep turning over stones to find that one. And you're like, that's what Dan and Dave are talking about. Yeah,
like somebody actually is better at this thing than I am, and they show up every day and don't give me a bunch of shitty attitude.
Yeah,
I didn't know that person existed. Yeah, once you have one good one, it's hard to like. You just can't settle for shitty ones because you're like, oh, like there are people like this,
man. And just be patient. We got to be patient too. I had a guy named Cameron Harold on my show. Episode's coming out in a few weeks, but he was the COO, man. You'll love this. That grew 1-800 Got Junk from 2 million to 106 in 6 years. Okay. Very like smart guy. But the founder who we've all heard of, Brian Scudamore, smart visionary, not the operator. He took, I think Cameron said, I believe it was like 12 years it took Brian to move the business from 1 million to 2. It was something like very long time. And is like,
that's a
Cameron came in.
Stretch, though. That's
man, yeah.
Really
Cameron
stretch.
came in 6 years, boom. And it's like, when you can be so realistic with what your skill set is and where that plugs in the business, and then go and look over time to find that right person. And that's like a pretty insane example I just gave, but I think apply it to your own small business, like looking for that. I call it like a champion of a department. Like that's who you really want to be searching for.
And I'm sure it's no accident or no coincidence that I bet when Brian was going from 1 to 2 million in that business, he learned a whole lot about finding the right person. Because I bet in that journey, he hired a lot of the wrong people.
Yeah.
Right. Like
sure.
You think you found him and then you didn't. And then you think you found him and then you didn't. And then you finally did. And you're like, holy shit, this one's the guy. It took him 12 years to find that guy.
Yeah.
And I bet it was a really painful journey. And like 1 to 2 million is a really tough spot. It's a painful business to run. It sounds like, oh my God, that's a huge business. Like, yeah, it's got a ton of problems and you're still on the hook for all of them. Like it's still a business that you're on the hook for.
Yeah, totally.
To what you said about the $500,000 business, there's such a sweet spot there from like 500 to 700, where I feel like a lot of people can get in there. You need one office person with your support, maybe a VA to help you out, depending on where you're at in there, and a few good techs, depending on what your average ticket is and what what your services are in different industries. But the one thing that tends to separate the guys that are like crushing it in there and like either are crushing it and I'm really profitable, I'm gonna stay here, or they get that itch and they're like, we're going to 1 million, and then they get to 1 million and they're like, oh shit, 1 million kind of sucks. But what they have figured out, and back to Rob's original question of like, how do you get to level 3? They have figured out or lucked into a couple really good techs. Yeah, just a couple dudes that can be out in the field without constant supervision. And I see over and over again, and we see it in social media so much, people bitching about the labor market and nobody wants to work anymore and everybody's no-showing. And all that's really wrong is they're recruit. And I see it because I am like in this recruiting game, and I get to watch businesses that absolutely crush it and businesses that absolutely don't. And the only difference is the business that are absolutely crushing it figure out how to recruit and retain awesome people. And the businesses that aren't crushing it can't figure out how to recruit and retain awesome people.
Yeah, that's all it is, man. 100%.
Like and we've all been there, Dave. We've all run a business where we had shitty employees and we didn't know who was going to show up the next day and we didn't know what set of problems we were going to get, but we knew for sure we were going to get a set of problems from them. And
for sure,
our lives are miserable when we have a shitty team and we put up with shitty employees. Our lives as business owners, I don't care if you're running a $100,000 business, a $500,000 business, or a $5 million business. If your team sucks, your life sucks. It's
man. Man, for sure. I think that's the main skill set an owner can build is the ability to attract great people and keep them. And I think a great way is to look at your team today and say, like, let's say you've had your business for at least 3 years. Like, how long has your longest tech been with you? And we had a hard learning process through this, Dan, where we would run a seasonal business. We're in Canada here, so we'd shut down October every year. And I'd have to restaff and retool. And then we did plug in Christmas lights. So now it's helped a whole lot more. But if you can keep the great people on your team, so much so, man, that I pay most of my team now through the winter in Jan and Feb when we don't have a lot going on, because we lose money for 2 months of the year, because that's how important the people are to me to keep them for the other 10 months when we make great money.
Yep. Yeah, there's no substitute. And we know that, like, when you get that glimpse of that guy that you talked about, where it's just like, oh, he is him. I got him. This is the one. Once you figure that out and you get that one dude, it becomes just a thing you can replicate. Just back to what's it like when you start a second or a third business, and once you're more resilient because you've just overcome so many things. Once you figure out like how to retain that, or attract and retain that good employee, you're just not willing to put up with shitty employees. We had a year post-COVID, this is when the labor market was real bad. I want to say 2021, I think it was.
Okay.
We spent $33,000 on recruiting ads.
Wow.
Yeah. It was the best investment we ever made.
Is that right?
The best investment.
Yeah.
We had like 15 dudes that were absolutely fucking amazing.
I bet.
And like, it makes it, when you have employees that like, I mean, we went through thousands of applications, right?
Yeah.
Like we got 15 really good folks. And when you invest in them to that level and weed them out to that level, the best part is like when you don't have any shitty employees, everybody wants to stay.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like everybody's really proud to be there and happy to be there. And when everybody gets along and is working really hard, like that's a really fun company to run and everybody like vibes off of it. When you have a couple shitheads in there, things fall apart really quick.
Man, and what's the economics on a good technician, right? Like depending on the business, but we usually see a technician can produce about, if you're a cleaning business, like 150 to 200K a year, like per guy or girl. At a 20% net, that's our target we run off of, man. That's 40K a year. So you got one guy's margin to cover the other 14 for the recruiting. It's crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah, that was kind of our realization. Is like we're sitting here spending like 6 figures on marketing, and then we're bitching that we don't like we have all these leads and we just like our employees are not fulfilling whatever, and yet and we're spending $500 on Indeed ads a month, and we're like, damn, we just can't find anybody. It was like,
of course,
like let me check the math here. Like we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get leads for these customers that on average pay us $500 when we show up, and then we're spending a couple $100 on these applications for people that make us $200,000.
I know.
Maybe we got something backwards. Like maybe we should spend more money on like the team, and then like the leads will just come because we have all the good employees. And it was scary as hell when we did it. Like I was shitting a chicken, Dave. Like that was intense. And like, and it's $5,000 at a pop, and you don't know, right?
Yeah,
it's still an investment. It's still a risk. But man, it changed everything. It changed how we thought about recruiting big time.
Yeah, man, that's so cool you say that. And I think even if owners just take that principle on a fractional scale and try balance out their recruiting with their marketing efforts, because at the end of the day, man, I think a lot of us could do a better job building out like what I call an employer brand, which is like how attractive is it to actually work at your company? It's something we should really be thinking about too. And I think you could have the best job ad from you guys, but if you're just a shitty person to work for or work with, you could lose money in recruiting, I think. So like fix the actual business work environment first and then take to recruiting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always funny. Sean and I talk about this every once in a while. We'll get somebody that's like, hey, you guys got me a bunch of people and I hired 2 people, but they quit. So your service doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Man, I'm going to mail you a mirror. I don't know how to tell you this nicely, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Like you chose them and they quit. And that just means that it's like a you thing. And I don't know a nice way to tell you that you need to improve you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You could almost run like a screener before you take them on and be like, 0 to 10, how coachable are you? I don't know. You could almost interview the client before they come with you. Cause I do think it's a huge mindset thing.
Totally. It is funny though. I feel like that's such a game changer for us, is just, if you get the right people, your business grows so fast. It's like uncontrollable.
Yeah.
I see it big time with maid services, and bookkeeping is just like a maid service. When you have a recurring service, if you don't have the best employees in the world and you have turnover, your clients feel it, then they turn over. Like there's nothing that kills any subscription style, recurring style business more than employee turnover.
It gets fun, man, in the cleaning business too. Like we do exterior cleaning, not interior, but you see your client base grow over the seasons and also them be fairly loyal to the actual technicians that did the cleaning, right? We'll get emails come in, same package as last year, please send Conrad or please send whichever tech. It's like, that shows the culture too, that you're growing this elevator of your clients with the techs. It's pretty cool to see that.
We always give Brent a hard time at Kahuna because he's just he was there before I started. Like he came in 2010 and he's still he came through Blue Skies, and we merged with Andy and Kahuna. And we just always give him such a hard time because we're like, Brent, it's only a matter of time before we have to come save you from some old lady's basement, like where you're just chained up. Like every old lady wants Brent, which is funny because Brent is a tough looking dude. He's like a Navy dude, shaved head. He's just stocky. He's built, and he just looks tough and mean. And he's the nicest fucking guy on the planet.
But he's so good at his job, probably too, man.
He's so good, and he'll like he can get in and out of a $400 job in like an hour, and maintain a conversation with Mrs. Jones the whole time, and like does a great job, and just like zips through it. But he just makes it look so effortless, right? It's like watching an NBA player that's just flawless in their game, and you're just like, they almost make it look too easy, like they're not even trying. And that's kind of like Brent. Like if I was going half as fast as him, I'd be like sweating and falling all over myself. Yeah. And he goes that fast, and he maintains a conversation all the time. And now like Mrs. Jones is going to request him every time.
Oh, for sure. It's like, what's that worth to your business too, man, to be like that referable. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think the right employees will make your business either a dream or a nightmare. Unfortunately, I think most trades business owners are living that nightmare because they're not doing the stuff we've talked about. And man, this stuff, like, it's been this way for a long time. Like I started a painting business 15 years ago. It was tough finding painters then too. And it's been tough the whole way along. But once you find those right people, like you said, you had that crew of 15, they're absolutely priceless to the business.
Yeah. I mean, like leadership is tough too. And I think that's why so many businesses stall out around that, like a little over 1 million. People get there. And I think this is probably what happened with Scudamore back in the day too, which is to get past like the 1 to 2 million phase is a wildly different skill set and a total different set of problems to solve than what got you to 1 million. Like you can get to 1 million with you still doing sales, with you kind of overseeing all the operations. And maybe you have like a production manager out in the field and an office manager in the office, but you're like in that day to day. At that point, you haven't found a person that can grow your business. And I see this all the time when I'm doing bookkeeping and we're like sending P&L reports to our clients. Their admin line is horrendous.
Like massive.
Yeah, it's huge. When they're stuck around 1 million. And my businesses have been no different because we're sitting there like churning, trying to figure out who can grow this company because I can't manage everything and be responsible for all the growth in this business. I'm trying to unlock that thing of the COO that could come in and be like, we just got to do this and this and this. But like that person's really hard to find and they're expensive. And like, are you willing to pay for that? And you're going to get it wrong multiple times before you, like you said, sometimes it takes you 5 hires. And do you are you solvent enough to find them? And
man, and that COO probably has a skill set to grow their own business too. So like, that's where it gets tricky where, to have operators run your business, whether that's an office manager, salesperson, you could have someone, at least in our market, for, 60 to 80K is like a pretty good wage. But yeah, if you wanted like a full on COO to come in and grow the business, you'd be $150 to 200. And then you're like, well, that's a massive margin of the business. So is that even like worth it? Right. So yeah, you're right.
There goes all of your money.
And
then like you're gonna do that for how long before you're like, shit, I just went this long with me taking $0 in hopes that I found the right person.
Yeah, no, totally, man. It is a lot of moving parts. I think what you're saying is find those different levers or different, I guess, places to camp the revenue and be extremely prepared, man, of what journey you're actually going on financially.
Every time you go through one, I call them purgatories, when you're like in that like sticky phase, and then it's a new set of problems to solve and usually some new investments to make. When you go through a purgatory, you do not want to stay there long because it's freaking expensive. And there's usually one between like 200,000 to 400,000 when you're kind of getting like truck number 2 and you're maybe getting off the truck and now you got to pay them the wages. Like that's the first spot where your money goes backwards. And usually as operators, when we go through that phase, we're like, oh my God, that sucked. I didn't see that coming. Good thing that's done with. And then it happens again when you like start hiring admin people, when you start getting past like 500 and you're going to be like, I'm going to start going towards 1 million. You hit another like just roadblock around like 750,000 where you're like, oh shit. I need more administrative resources, but we don't, as owners, we don't yet have the skill set to teach them how to like operate the company. And then again, you hit it over $1 million where you're like, oh, now I got to try to teach. I need like a leadership team, and I need to find or teach people how to lead other people and grow a thing. Like I just thought I needed to find people to manage people, but now they need to like lead people and get them engaged and like running with us. I like, how do you find that person? How do I train that person? It's just like this funny, like different skill sets that we just fall out on because we haven't had to solve the problem before.
Man, for sure. And I think too, you have to be cognizant of managers will want to have an assistant as well, right? And that word gets thrown around quick too, but it's like when you pay the manager and the assistant, a lot of times the percent will be too great on the P&L. So you have to watch for that as well. So yeah, there's like a lot of, that's why business is so complex, man.
Yeah. Well,
it really is.
Sorry, I got away from the microphone because there's
there's
a beer way down here. It's just right down
there. There you go.
Check this out. This is the best Christmas present I think I ever got.
What'd you get?
My wife got me a mini fridge.
Oh man, that's awesome.
My logos on it just for hanging out.
So cool.
Right by where I podcast here.
That's awesome.
Just
fill it up every Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday night, I ran some beers up earlier, plugged it in, cools them down. I think it can hold 6. If we were gonna do, I mean, we are doing American.
What are you on? Central Time?
Central Time, yeah.
Man, it's getting late for you.
I'm kind of like a stay up till 11:30, wake up at 5:30. I'm a 6-hour.
Really? You don't sleep that much? Okay, wow.
I like got on that pattern in college because I was just busy studying and busy partying and just wanted to do it all. And then I realized
never changed.
I'm pretty good on 6. I'm actually worse on like 7 or 8. I have like a 3-hour REM cycle, so I kind of need 8.5 and 9 if I'm gonna sleep in. Right. And there's just no way I'm gonna get that much. Once in a while I did on this last weekend, I got one night of like 9 hours and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But
so you're good.
Ain't nobody got time for that, as they say.
So 2 sleep cycles, you're good.
Yeah.
Wow. It's impressive, man. I need 8, I think almost 8, 7 to 8. Not always easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's and especially when you have kids, it's just kind of like sleep becomes sleep. Sleep is no longer a thing you feel like you're totally in control of. Like sometimes you're just like, man, I'm just glad I got an hour. Like that's cool. Thank God for that 1 hour. Rob says, just need to feed them burritos, then shovel in that money.
There you go. Easy.
This is a business formula. I think this is the shortest business book ever written. I think that's all you need.
One-liner.
Burritos equals shuffling money.
There you go.
Said leadership development program, E-Myth traction, start with why. I do think, I mean, E-Myth is one of those books I just always like back to. Sean Day says, is there a right purgatory that financing your growth is a good idea? I think that's a really good question.
What do you think on that?
It's so dependent on like your experiences and how fast you can go through it anyway. And what like monetarily, what do you have? So in best damn bookkeeping, part of the reason I'm just like, I just don't care about money that much. My wife is the breadwinner of our family. She has the big corporate job. I just get to do fun stuff and hang out with business owners.
Yeah.
I'd probably approach it a little bit differently if I had to be the breadwinner.
Right.
But I don't. So like my life is a little bit different and I'm super appreciative of it. But I also am like looking at this business and I knew this was going to happen, but in 6 months we have like 70 some clients and I have 24 demos on the schedule for the next week. So like 10 people I need to follow up with. Rob included. I still need to follow up with Rob actually.
I feel like if we chat if we chat in 6 months, my opinion, you'll have a different tune of this being like a little small business. Like I think it's growing, man, which is exciting.
It's super fast, but growth is expensive and hiring people and training people is expensive. And so I have the fortune, not fortune like monetarily, but I'm fortunate that I can grow. Partially, I know this is going to happen where like the faster you grow, the less money you make for a period of time. And I am totally fine with that. Like I started this business knowing that and making money not be the goal, but having a lot of fun with it. and just helping as many people as possible. So the goal wasn't to make money, and I'm totally fine growing and not making a profit for a period of time because I'm just going to be bringing in resources and building a more badass thing. That's the intent. But it's scary if it's like, if your livelihood is totally based on it and that is the thing that pays your bills.
Yep.
And it's the first time you've done it. This is like the 5th time I've done it. So it just feels a lot different. Like, it's not scary to me. I know exactly what it's going to be like. I know to get through it as fast as possible. And so I'm going through it as fast as possible. So I think is there a right purgatory for financing your growth? I think it's so dependent on the situation of your life and your experiences in your business.
Totally.
There's times where you're going to do what I'm doing now, which is like, I don't need to make money. I just need to grow this thing fast enough to like take in everybody that wants to come on this journey.
Yeah, totally.
If money had to be a thing, I'd probably still be on the truck. I'd be doing bookkeeping right now instead of talking to you. And I'd be making sure that I was getting the paycheck.
Yeah.
Right now.
But also, man, I think you got to look at like the entrepreneur, right? If someone's ran the base path and built a fairly successful business and they're coming to you saying, should I take on a $50,000 loan and put it into, it's probably going to err more towards yes, based on the track record. But I think a lot of newbie entrepreneurs, $50K loan, like, no, man, you need to go and get some business cards on Vistaprint and 2 golf shirts and go knock on some doors. That's the thing. So like, you're exactly right. I think situational. I think most business owners, I would say no, like, don't take the loan and learn to bootstrap a company, but you can't paint with a broad brush. That would just be me, because I've seen more people dust it in business and lose their shirt with a loan than like, hey, I took a $50K loan and spun it into a $500,000 business and we did it in 2 years instead of 6. Like, you just don't hear that too often.
No, and I think if you've done it before, you'd be more comfortable with it, right? But if you haven't done it before, like, you don't know what you're going to screw up yet. Yeah. And you don't want to screw up a bunch of shit and owe somebody else a lot of money. Like, totally. That's a recipe for some sleepless nights. Yeah. And I don't like borrowing money. I do encourage people to like have a credit card and finance assets that go out and make money, but I don't like them spending money. I don't like them borrowing money and spending money on marketing or things that are not an unknown, but a gamble in a way. I'm very much like a bootstrap it and do the boots on the ground stuff early on to generate the work, so that the work you're doing pays for the next work until you know enough about how you're approaching the thing and operating the thing that you get some confidence up. But,
yeah, man, it's funny. Like, people usually side more towards Dave Ramsey or more towards Robert Kiyosaki, right? Do we do everything cash or do we finance everything? But no one really talks about there's a huge gap from those two guys teaching, right? There are times that maybe there is a little more in the middle. We have a $5,000 credit card, which we pay every month, so we get the points, and maybe we have a mortgage we can handle because we know in 2 decades the housing market will go up. So it's like, there is a huge middle ground. Again, we started with politics, man. I think this can do the same thing of like, no debt, yes debt.
I was gonna go right there. It feels like we're talking politics. I actually, when I present, I have Plata's 5 finance fundamentals, and Dave Ramsey's picture is on one of them.
Okay.
And then I put up a big X on it and I say, fuck Dave Ramsey. And the crowd just loves it because it's just like polarizing. But the point, like, Dave's great, right? And like, I think what he does is awesome. And it's for us as civilians and as pedestrians. It's not for us as business owners. No, like, he's not talking to business owners. He's talking to pedestrians.
Personal finance. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I agree with him a lot on personal finance, which it blends in with business ownership a little bit. And so there's times where I'll like finance a personal vehicle because I have things I could do with that money from an investment standpoint that generate a higher return than the 4% I financed that Subaru for. Because I own a Subaru, Dave.
Which one you got? The Forester? No, the big one probably.
We got the Ascent. We had to.
Is that the 7-seater?
Yeah. It was between the Ascent or the Explorer, and I'm like, I have an F-150. I'm not loyal to vehicle brands, like,
yeah,
but I just kind of
care.
like default to Fords because I've had them my entire life, and that like I'm comfortable with it. I'm not like a Forder. I'm gonna have the Kelvin sticker with him pissing on your vehicle's logo.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, when a used Explorer is like 42 grand and a brand new Subaru is like 37 grand,
it's a
and they do
no-brainer.
the same shit, I'm gonna buy that Subaru is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. So you got that one's pretty new then, I guess.
It's probably a year old.
Nice.
It's probably like 2 years old. We got it when we had Crosby.
Well, you need
to get that next seat in there.
Man, you need the big people mover. My wife's friend just got that one too, and she was over the other day, and I was like, I didn't know Subaru made a 7-seater. It's a good looking car.
Ours has the captain seats. We got ours with the captain seats in the middle and then the 3 seats in the back, but they all fold down pretty flat. So it's seat 7, but they can also fold down pretty good.
That's cool.
You fit some stuff in there, which is good for. I mean, I like if I'm hunting and fishing, I'm probably driving the pickup. But every once in a while, I like to save me some gas mileage because I'm cheap, and we'll figure out how to slam some stuff in that Subaru.
That's sweet. So both of them work for your lifestyle.
They gotta. That
matters.
You can get 3 kids on the back seat of the F-150. All right, like you can get.
I bet
back there. I got that figured out.
That's awesome, man.
But no, I think back to the Dave Ramsey thing. Like, he's talking to pedestrians, and I think it's totally fine. But when you're a pedestrian, like that vehicle that you purchase doesn't make you money, right?
No,
and that's where it's different when you're a business owner. Like you buy that truck, and it is out there making you money every day, and the return that vehicle provides outweighs the interest rate that you're paying on that vehicle. And it's just a math equation.
Well, man, and if you're like sub $1 million, you don't really need like a physical shop, to be honest. It can vary, right? But like for us, man, we rent like an office from a co-working space. It's a private office now. And then we've just like hacked, and it's not ideal, but it works for now. We've got self-storage units throughout our city. Because like a central location for us is like $6,000 a month, and we're just like, that doesn't necessarily put money in your pocket. It would be cool to have, but
it definitely takes money out of your pocket.
Man. Instead, we can have a central office that has a boardroom we can meet. I was just there today, and then all of our storage units with all our Christmas lights for like $2,000 a month. So it's just like making those decisions at the margin and not letting your ego come in that I need a shop, right? Because I'm like, hey, we have a killer website and we've got good branded up-to-date trucks that make money. We're foregoing the space right now in the effort with the other two, like being the business. And I think a lot of us think, oh, we need a shop, or people don't take us seriously. I've hired 150 people, man, without a shop. Like you don't need, like I would love to get one, and we probably will one day, but you don't need to have that while you're small and growing. There's other bigger fish to fishing analogy, bigger fish to fry.
Oh, hell yeah. And the tricky thing about rent, not tricky. The shitty thing about rent is that's not like, you can't go to Mrs. Jones and be like, yo, Mrs. Jones, we're raising our price because our rent just went up. There's not a good way to pass that cost along. That's not like a direct cost that your customers feel, and they don't really give a shit how big your shop is. It's just, it's 1-to-1 money out of your pocket. And so in your example, Dave, you're either paying $6,000 a month or $2,000 a month.
Yep.
That $4,000 difference. This is how I always think about these things. That $4,000 difference is $50,000 a month.
Yep.
Excuse me, $50,000 a year.
Yep.
$50,000 a year of expenses is, in a 20% profit model, is $250,000 of revenue.
Yep.
So
huge.
If to even break even on that space needs to generate $250,000 of revenue for you to even break even. Even break even is a weird thing to say. It sounds.
And you line that out perfectly though for people to go back and rewind that, because I think it's like a notch in the belt for trade business owners. Like I got my shop, like I got my buddy Tanner in Florida. He's $1.5 million now, and he's more anti-shop. Like he came on my show. He's like, not getting a shop. I got 5 crews I run. This painting business. And I'm like, man, this is so refreshing to hear, because I don't know if it's an American thing, man, or what, but you get your space and you made it. But like, how about
it is going to be an American thing? We're very we're very private ownership centric.
Yeah. And like, I've got guys I'm working with, man, that got a warehouse and an office like in a smaller town for $1,300 a month. I'm like, man, go for it. Right. But if you're in a more affluent market, as I am, where real estate's insane, like, you've got to temper it. So we hit the jackpot, man, on affluent clients living in $2-3 million homes. They'll write $1,000 check to get the windows clean, but it hurts on a central facility standpoint that you need to kind of weigh things through like a different lens.
It's funny we're talking about this. I had no idea.
Sorry to bring it up. I didn't know we were going here, man.
No, I didn't. I mean, we talked about this right at the get-go. We had no idea what we were going to talk about on the show, and here we are, an hour 45 minutes in, and we're still. Brandon's like, dude, this is some really good information. When I present my purgatories talk, I have like, here's what purgatory 1 looks like, because everybody wants to talk about the levels. Even Rob said, what's like? I'm at these levels. What does this level look like?
Yeah.
I like to talk about the shit in between, because that's like the stuff that sucks, where you need to figure out what's going on. And one of my recommendations, as you're going from like level 1 to 2 to 3, and you're in the first 2 purgatories, is delay infrastructure as long as you can. Like, you're going to need software to get your people out there. And you're going to need some other like investments like that. Obviously, you're going to need some insurance, but those like fixed cost infrastructure things bury you, and you can't pass them along. It's just money out of your pocket, money that you could use for recruiting the best team in the world, which is way more fun to run a business than having a shop with a bunch of shitty dudes in it. So go get better employees and forego the shop first.
Yeah.
Like, that $48,000 a year can probably get you some pretty good employees. I'd figure out what to do with that.
And man, I do think there is a play like to get a shop when ready. Like, there's a culture play. You can, park vehicles. It's like there is.
Oh yeah.
Have happy hours with the crew. Like, there is upside for sure, but we're just saying, like, focus on the major priorities to get started and then graduate to the truck. But I just think it's refreshing to see people who've grown a company and kept it lean and like decided to go a little more Dutch, as I have. There's bigger stuff to focus on. So that's all we're saying.
When I look at the levers that somebody can use to grow a business, rent is not one that I bring up. I'm never like, hey, you know what you need to grow this thing? You need a big ass rent bill. That's going to get you to the next level. Is not a thing that I've ever told.
You know what got my head straight, man, was I've been doing this for over a decade, is going on LinkedIn and just cold DMing people. I've got no bones about this. I dug up Mark Cuban's email address and I sent him over an email. He didn't write me back. This wasn't where I was going with the story, but I will cold email random people. And I cold emailed this guy who had a $15 million plumbing business, who's now become a friend. And I said, I heard him on a podcast, and he said, hey, you should come by, see my shop. So I've been to his shop now 3 or 4 times. And I remember when I was really going through this like 2 years ago, we need to get a space, we're growing. And he texted me, I'm like, what level, or I said, on a P&L, what percent should rent be on the books? He's like, 1%, period. And I was like, oh man, I know. So I think it's a little low, but
that's even cheaper.
But yeah, I was just like, I think if you look at a lot of these companies we work with, they put on, let's just say $3,000 a month is going rate, 36K on a 500K business. That's a big percentage, man. And if I would rather go out and get a salesperson who could sell me, like, they're probably going to be a little more than that. But again, it's just how you make decisions. And so I was like, oh, that's like, it's pretty cool to see an entrepreneur further along than I am in business and like hear their response to that.
That is funny. I shoot for 2%. Like, I know it's usually going to be more than that.
But that's
at like 2. 2, I feel like is you're going to outgrow it pretty fast. I don't want to sign like the longest lease forever, because I plan on growing, but I want to put my money into recruiting and marketing.
Yeah.
Like, those are the 2 things. Those are the 2 things that grow your business. It's not the assets, right? You can get the assets after you have the customers and the employees, but a super badass rigged up truck doesn't do shit.
Yeah. If people just focused on like growing their customer base and growing their people, we could hang up this whole show, and like, that's all you got to focus on. You don't need to focus on
Hold on, but we're missing one thing. Burritos.
Oh, that too. I thought you were gonna say ABC.
That too. Well, that goes along with building your team, right? But other than that, like you need the burritos. I did find when I was still like in the day-to-day stuff of our window cleaning business, probably the most impactful thing from a retention standpoint. And I was running all these companies across the country and growing the admin. That's so stupid what I was doing, Dave. I don't know why I did it. I had like all these businesses and I was growing this admin thing. But one thing that I was like super adamant about, every Monday I was in the shop making breakfast for the folks.
Yeah. And I love that.
And it was like, it wasn't expensive. It was $15. I'd buy a dozen eggs. I get some English muffins and some bagels. So they had choices as to their carbs. Yeah. And sometimes it was sausage patties. Sometimes it was ham. One of my guys, Jake, would always want avocado. So if the avocados were looking good at Cub Foods that morning, I'd scoop up a couple of avocados and slice them up. And just like a hot breakfast sandwich on a Monday morning. I'll tell you what, like, the call, like, and it was like my grandma's old griddle, right? Yeah. It was nothing fancy. And like in a shitty ass toaster, actually the shitty toaster oven was from my grandma too. Grandma Pat, RIP. But there's just no substitute for like serving your team. Like that's real servant. Like, let me make you some food and
100%,
sandwich to fill your belly on a Monday morning. But man, the amount of like call-ins that we had on Mondays went way down. The camaraderie and like the culture went way up because everybody's like catching up on what went on that weekend. And it just like set the tone for the entire week.
I love that, man.
It was
a simple hack.
Simplest thing.
And adjust for inflation today, $15 might cost someone $80. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but,
right. And hey, here was like a bonus perk. I got to make myself a breakfast sandwich too. And like if you went and bought a breakfast sandwich right now, that's probably $15. So like now I get to eat one too. And usually there was one left over. So sometimes I'd eat two.
I love it, man. I'm in a phase right now. I actually make breakfast sandwiches every single morning at our house, 7 days a week. It's maybe not the best thing to be eating every day, but when you're moving around with a 9-month-old, you burn it off pretty quick. But yeah, it's been kind of a tradition we've had. So I go all out on them, man. It's fun.
I'm not a breakfast sandwich connoisseur, but I've been perfecting the craft of breakfast sandwiches since like early on in my college days.
Yeah.
My old roommate Steve even named one of my breakfast sandwiches the McPlata, and it became that, and it still is that. Like we go up to my friend's cabin up north, and we'll go up there for a weekend, and we figure out the meals, right? But one of the meals is always McPlatas. Like it's on the menu one morning.
Love it.
And we have the other one, same thing. Like this happened in college. Of course, it happened at a bar late at night when it got devised, but we make a biscuit and gravy pizza. And my buddy, Paul Gressel, worked at a pizza shop, and it got named the Gressel. And so it's still called that. It's still the Gressel, and it's a biscuit and gravy pizza, and that fills everybody up. It's just like there's no substitute for a good base in the morning.
Sounds delicious, man. Love it.
You're gonna go make a breakfast sandwich when we get off of this call.
I think I got a hot tub calling my name pretty quick, man. It's gonna be a good way to end the night.
I dig it. We are pushing the 2-hour mark, so we could probably wrap this son of a gun up.
Surprised people are still listening, brother. You're a good host.
Actually, I always think this is so funny when you put two people that host podcasts together. And I noticed this earlier, but I didn't say anything. Like there was a stretch in the middle where you were asking me more questions than I was asking you. Like the tides turned, and I forgot. I was just like, oh yeah, that's right. Dave has his podcast, so of course
it's nice, man.
Yeah,
it's nice to like put people on the spot and get put on the spot. I think you just learn that having your own show, so it's been cool.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the whole point of the show is like, what would Dave and Dan talk about if they just got together and like had a beer? This 100%. Is it.
This is it. Like, breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah,
politics, and I'm overdue to get you on my show, man. So we're gonna have to make that happen.
Twist my arm.
I don't think it's gonna be 2 hours, but I'll book you in for 45 minutes. We'll see how we do.
All right, we'll have to be more efficient. With it. I don't. Any other thing? Anything else before we wrap up? I got one more question for you, but anything before I ask my like closing question that we didn't cover that you're like, oh, it'd be cool to quick hit on this before we wrap things up.
Man, I think we covered a lot. I think I just like the main thing in my teaching, man, has really been emphasizing just a long-term approach to business building. It's something I've really been thinking on lately. Like 10 years is 120 months. So some of us had a tough February or a tough March. Don't get so down in the dumps. Like if you actually plant your flag and say, I'm going to run this thing for a decade, you'd make decisions a lot different. I just think in an age of social media, we make decisions for the short term. And so I'm 35 now, man, and I'm thinking, what's life look like for Dave and his family at 45? Well, let's work tomorrow, April 11. Let's work towards that 10-year plan. And you just get less like tossed around in the sea of like, oh, this person said they're going to book with me and they didn't, or someone wrote a bad review. You're just like, all right, decade plan. What's the big deal? So I'm working on it. But I think if there's one thing coming off the show, someone listened that far, all these tactics are great. But I think the biggest thing is just your mindset towards like a decade horizon. It kind of changes the game.
I dig that. Actually, when I'm doing a bookkeeping demo with people, I show them our reporting structure, and we show monthly data, quarterly data, year to date, and trailing 12, and they can like interactive. They can expand it and play with it. It's like a dashboard style. And when I'm reviewing that with people, I was like, here's the thing. Like the first thing you're going to look at is the monthly data, and it's irrelevant. Don't worry about it. Like quarterly data starts to tell you how you're doing lately. Monthly data has just so much weird stuff in it and timing things. Just don't worry about it. It's weird. It's goofy. There's different business days. There's different payrolls. There's different seasonal things. There's different random expenses that you forgot were going to pop up. Like, don't make decisions based on what happened last month.
Totally.
Maybe quarterly, you'll see a trend, maybe, but don't knee jerk. Don't knee jerk.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. Here's how we're wrapping this thing up, Dave.
Yeah, hit me.
Let's say you couldn't. Money's no object. You can't like totally throw it away, but just in general, like you're going to be fine. And it can't be like pressure washing related or let's even say coaching related.
Okay.
Like those things don't even exist in the world. They haven't even, like you can't invent them. They haven't been invented. They're not a thing. What would you go do tomorrow?
Man, so business is still a thing. I just can't touch
businesses
coaching
exist.
or
they're just like outside of the realm that you get to play in today. Wildly different.
Oh man, I would. You know what I'd love? Like I'm in the process right now, man, of writing a book, which has been like going on for a year and a half. I haven't really talked about it, but I've really enjoyed it. But if I actually didn't have Revive and I didn't have Home Service Business Coach, if I could just hone in and write for 3 hours every morning and like don't have to check my Slack, none of my employees are like just like full on focus, I would write a book on how to like build a great culture and be like the best leader possible. Something around those terms that would apply to home services, but also to like other businesses as well. So that's the first thing that comes to mind, man.
Like John Maxwell's name is pretty synonymous with leadership.
A lot of his books, like I love the guy, man, but a lot of his books, like I think he's written 70 books or something, but like if you read one, you've kind of read them all. That I'm totally. I'm like, I think something like the book I'm working on right now is kind of a playbook around growing a home service business, but I think something that was bigger than just for that niche that touched on more like leadership and people development. I think I would love to do that too. If money was no object, man, I would just want to be like a sports coach, whether Beckham's on the team or not. Like I coached high school soccer for 6 years and
sweet.
Love that, man. And some of our techs still work for me that were on that soccer team years ago, which is my main sales guy at HSBC. I coached him in soccer like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It's crazy. So I would do that secondarily.
Or you're just a Ted Lasso. That's you.
Oh, I've heard the name. I don't even know. He's a coach, right?
You haven't watched Ted Lasso?
No, I should.
Me either. Maybe we should. Maybe I'll fly out and we'll watch it together. It's on Apple. Somebody else chime in that actually knows and watches Ted Lasso, but it's like all the rage. He's a soccer coach, but it's like a leadership show.
Oh, geez, I should watch that. Yeah,
dude. Like, I'm itching to watch it, but just with what you just said, like you should watch it first. If there was a line that we had to get in and you were behind me in line, I'd be like, Dave, I think you should probably get in front of me, dude.
Last thing I'd do, brother, I would book a I'd book a villa in Bali and go live in Bali for I don't know, probably 6 months to kind of just like decompress and like focus on whatever would be next, if there would be something next. So those would probably be like my top 3, and maybe they'll happen. We'll see. But that like kind of would come to mind at this point.
The reason I brought up John Maxwell is I feel like his name goes good on a business book.
Yes.
Like whether you like his books or not, it's just a good name. Yeah. And I kind of feel like David Moerman would be like, you wouldn't need to come up. No, this isn't a choice for you. I'm just telling you because your perception of your name is different than everybody else's. Like your name probably feels lame to you because you've had it your entire life, right? Like who the fuck is Dan Plata? That's just a weird ass name that doesn't really like, it's just the name that I got. But I think David Moerman on a book, you'd be like, this guy knows his shit. You'd see that,
man.
It'd be right up there with John Maxwell. Like strong name. This guy should be writing business books.
High praise, man. You know, someone messaged me, I think it was today or yesterday, I don't know, all the days blend together. He's like, David Moerman, he's like, you created the Moerman tool, whatever. It's like a window cleaning brand, but like a special new scrubber. He's like, did you invent that? I was like, I want to say, I'm like, no, literally same last name spelling, but no, I didn't make that.
You're like, nah, that wasn't me. I'm the dude with the religion. I did the religion.
Yeah, right. He's like, oh, okay, I got it. But the guy was like dead serious and like ready to take an autograph.
That's a German brand, isn't it? That's like
I think it's Australian or something. It's like this like nice blue color, like the brand
it's like
looks
a bright blue.
Cool.
It's cool.
And cool when I started Revive, I bought a bunch of it because I'm like, oh, this is a cool
You're like, you felt like just an affiliation, like a guild that you had to use their shit. Like you're probably related to me at some point.
Yeah, I had to check it out. It was a cool scrubber I bought, but I don't know, some scrubber, all right. But it's kind of funny the guy brought it up today. I had a good laugh.
I was gonna make a religious joke earlier, but I didn't have a good one, so I didn't make it. But
you know, maybe post show you can go and put it in the comments.
Yeah, I'll chat GPT some stuff and see if AI can write me a funny joke about your last.
There you go, man. That'll be good. We hit 2 hours. Look at that.
We nailed it. Jeremy Messer jumped in. He says Ted Lasso is legit. I feel weird recommending it because I've never watched it, but I've never, like most shows, you get a detractor here and there. Right. Never had any detractor of Ted Lasso. It's a fan fave, and if you like soccer and you like leadership, like that's literally like the theme of the show is soccer and leadership.
Love it, man. Going on my schedule this week. We'll get it done.
Get it before that and Strange Brew. Those are you have 2 things to do. That's to let your wife know. That's all. Hey, I've got like really big things I got to tackle here this week. Binging a show and catching up on this movie. I'll get back to you later.
It sounds like a full day off to me, man. I love it.
Get it. Well, Dave, I'm not surprised that we're here 2 hours later and still jamming, and I think we could go another 2 hours without much effort. But we'll save that for a future episode, and we'll just let the people have to wait until then.
Yeah, man, I love it. I'll check back on some of these comments too as this sits in Facebook the next couple days and see if we get into any good convos. But thanks for having me on, man. And I definitely got to get you back on my show, man, to bring some gold nuggets. But this was definitely fun. You're a great host, man, and I'm glad I got to fire a few questions your way too.
Yeah. I was just like, oh man, the tides have turned. Here we go. Yeah, I'm on the spot. Awesome. There you go. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for going the distance, and go enjoy the hot tub, man. Go get in there.
Yeah, man. I'll have one more Heineken Zero and shut her down. Get my 8 hours.
Just take it easy, Dave. Take it
easy. Going out of control.
Yeah, just take it easy. There's still alcohol in those, they're not totally.
Is there a little bit? Yeah, okay. 0.0. There's probably a little bit.
Yeah, just take it easy. All right. Business nerds, thank you guys for hanging out. Love you, appreciate you. Give it a like and a subscribe and a share and a smash the. You guys know what to do. Work harder and work smarter, or other way around. Work smarter and harder, whichever direction you prefer to go. Go earn yourself some pride and some joy. Have a good night. See you, boys.
See you later.